On this special Halloween episode of the Erich Andreas Unexplained, the cast and I discuss some of our favorite Halloween films, some Halloween fables and tales, and some personal seedy stories. And we also slightly look into the story of a one James Brown, able-bodied seaman known as America's first ever vampire, touted also as the president's vampire. Yes, Ray?
Andreas, Ray Casper here. Hey, I was out shopping today and I got a little Halloween surprise for Nadine today.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I was thinking real special on her today when I was out doing a little pumpkin shopping.
Is this going to be another one of your screwy proposals?
You know, every time I try to get something going with her and land myself something sweet, you gotta butt in with your illiterate little comments. Why you always blocking them, bro?
Excuse me?
Are you deaf, Andreas? You dirty bucktooth ravioli eating Pakistani. I'm so sick of you.
So, where were you in November of 1992? Of course, I know you know where you were. Where were you? More importantly, where were you? Blake?
Well, I was watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Good stuff.
Good stuff indeed. Now, the show or the film?
No, the Christy Swanson movie.
Christy Swanson, not the Michelle Gellar one, yes.
No, that was later.
The show. So, I never saw the movie. Much better?
It's campy, entertaining,
Okay.
and just the right amount. Beautiful.
Beautiful. All right. 1992, November. I remember exactly where you were, but I'd love to hear your story. Your recreation of where you were.
Not applicable. I was not alive.
That's not an excuse. You used that before.
Wasn't alive. Not my business.
Okay. 1992, November. Bram Stoker's Dracula was released. Brilliant, especially brilliant for that time. And what I call the Gary Oldman's Dracula. And the Keanu Reeves infidelity of accent, as it were, with that particular film. But brilliant because it opened with the some of the opening scenes where Prince Vlad's fight against the Ottomans, the vengeful Turks bit, it's just fantastic. His wife plunging herself to her doom because of the false news of her husband being killed by them. But no, he was out doing some really good impaling. And I always like to reference in every single episode about this girl that I knew in Philadelphia. And on occasion, when I would see her, I did a little impaling of my own.
Oh.
So, anyway, favorite Dracula movies or vampiric lore legend films?
Interview with the Vampire was mine, Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, as Lestat and Louis. Oh, man. Flip that. But in any case, and Kirsten Dunst as like the little kid vampire. I forget the girl's
She was in that?
Yeah, Kirsten Dunst in that. She's a little kiddo. That's her and her youngest. And, who else? Antonio Banderas was in it. In any case, one of the quintessential vampire movies. Of course, it's based on the Anne Rice novels.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, just before its time, really. And then followed up by Queen of the Damned.
I didn't see that either, though.
Oh, you missed out.
Did I?
You did.
I have to see these.
That was, I think that, don't quote me, that might have been Aaliyah's last movie.
Really?
Okay. She played Akasha, a vampire monarch at the time.
And another one, which I thought was brilliant, it was really, really good, was, I think it was 2011, 2012, I'm not positive on the year, but Dracula Untold. That was excellent, I thought, for a Dracula movie. And I was asking Natasha earlier if she was familiar with that movie, and she said something to the effect of "Piss off, I hate Halloween."
No, I have not watched very many vampire movies.
Okay.
However, there is a show, and this will give away spoilers, but there's a show called Midnight Mass by Mike Flanagan.
Yes.
And for most of the show, it actually depicts these vampires as angels. And it's just very interesting.
Agreed.
Never,
Very good.
never heard of it.
Agreed. Yeah. No spoilers on this, but it is deceptive to the end on what a vampire is and how they operate.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Like, I mean, the only thing that to me sort of matched Natasha was probably the strain. Have you ever saw that?
No. I haven't watched a lot of horror movies myself.
That's fair. But, I mean, how can you not want to see the vampire movies? You know, it's powerful, it's sexual. You just can't. You can't get around that. You know, it's like human beings are apex predators in our own way. But we invented something higher. We had to.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. No, thing about it is what I love about the lore is that Vlad Tepes, he was taken, from what I understand, captive by the Turks, and he was abused to such a degree that this had a lot to do with his him exercising vengeance on them when he was eventually released. But he was, even in his cell, impaling rats and mice.
Ew.
And that's,
Obviously,
perhaps.
What is your obsession with impaling?
He's a guy. Give him a break.
I'm just saying, he was known as Vlad the Impaler.
For shame.
Not Vlad the
Not Vlad.
newspaper salesman, not Vlad the sock manufacturer. He was Vlad the Impaler. So he did some good impaling. Yeah.
You gotta be straightforward about that kind of thing.
So yeah, it's a very specific sort of hobby. And just in case anyone is questioning, this is our Halloween episode, so it's Halloween themed. So there'll be some darkness in it, and a little of this and that. So, and this brings me. I want to speak on my adolescent love for my neighborhood. And when I say adolescent, I mean I was whatever adolescent is. I was probably under the age of 13, just to give me some leniency and grace here. Myself and my group of neighborhood exiles would exercise something we called pumpkin bashing. When we weren't playing Mr. Highwayman, but that's a different story. And what we would do on Halloween is we would go around, and I had two separate paper routes that were in adjoining neighborhoods. And what I would do was customers, I guess you could call them, that were rude or had a problem with or complained, their pumpkins, if they were outside, I would get an extra good bashing and going over. And my little group of yucks, we fancied ourselves as a modern day, or maybe we wouldn't call it modern day, Jolly Droogs, a Clockwork Orange sort of fellows going around just wreaking havoc in the neighborhood. And that we didn't get. There was no breaking or entering, and then the stuff that went along in that movie, but because they're just little kids. But that was just one of my things, was just on Halloween. And what we would do is, if there was anyone who we really had a problem with, like any of the other kids, and target the ones that humped that neighborhood for 2 or 3 hours.
And what did you do?
What every kid does, you go and grab their candy in 5 or 6 minutes after they've been humping the neighborhood for 2 hours. It's terrible. I've repented. I was a little kid.
Doubt it.
I was a little kid.
Are you still doing that?
Well, I like candy.
He's got a little sweet tooth crackhead.
That's. But I was a little bastard.
Taking candies from babies.
Yeah. But these were not innocent little children either. These were little. They were little fuckers.
Little hellions, huh?
Yeah. So
Worse than you?
In one way or another. Yeah. This is just good stuff for a 122-pound punk.
Okay.
What are you doing? All right. So
What are you gonna do?
yeah. So that's what I would do. We would pumpkin bash, and you actually were telling me a story that, because remember, back then, I was distinctly saying, Natasha, are you going to come out pumpkin bashing with us? And you said what to me?
Don't recall.
You don't recall. Well, she doesn't recall. Any little excuse. She was invited. Anyway, so that's that era. Long gone. Not coming back. No more pumpkin bashing from me. Yeah.
I mean, it was, the metal band Smashing Pumpkins, they did it in the 70s. So give them a break, man.
There you go. Yes. So this Halloween is going to be actually a really, really good one. We all have big plans, but yes. Oh, Ray's calling again. Ray Casper. Go ahead, Ray.
Hello, Mr. Andreas. I, speaking of abusing pumpkins, I want to tell you what I did today. You want to know what I did today?
Sure.
No.
Well, I went and when I knew that Nadia was going to be on the show, I went out and I bought a special medium-sized pumpkin. Do you want to hear what I did with it?
No. Guess you carved it.
Well, you could say that. You bet your ass I carved it. Well, what I did is I cut out some very beautiful eyes, and I cut out a cute little button nose, and I cut out a nice big circle for where the mouse goes. And what I did is I went and I had a scotch or two, and I waited for it to get dark. My neighbors like to peer in through the windows on occasion. And what I did is, when I thought I could, be able to have some privacy on this, I unzipped my dungarees, and I...
All right, cut him off. Done.
What the...
At least
That
Ray.
made me very uncomfortable.
At least Ray.
So you need to not let this guy call in.
Eventually he wants to be a co-host.
No.
That will not happen.
The thing about it is that at least he didn't bring up the bit about getting one of his dead wife's old wigs and putting it on that pumpkin. I just
I set the bar very low.
I just go with it with Ray, but anyway. So in this next segment, let's talk about what has been described as the president's vampire. Late 1800s, one James Brown described in the periodicals as a Portuguese Negro serving on a Bostonian whaler. And this is a fascinating story. Fascinating. So, supposedly, James Brown, fake name. He was able-bodied seaman, and I think he was a cook as well. And on this particular voyage, he was being racially harassed by another crew member, a little bit younger than him, and they got into a altercation. That crew member ended up dead, and didn't show up for his post in the morning. Well, they searched the ship, and they found James Brown huddled over this crewman who he had stabbed several times and was sucking the blood out of him. And they also found another fellow crewman who was deceased as well, and all of his blood had been sucked out of him after he was murdered by James Brown. So it also had been reported that it took several crewmen to be able to restrain him, because they said he fought like a tiger with just this supernatural strength. And when they actually were able to deliver him back, he was imprisoned and sentenced to death. And this particular incident happened, I believe, in 1867, 1866, and he was sentenced to death, but he was pardoned by the president's vampire. And he was then transferred to another prison where he found a way to kill, I think, a few other inmates, and transferred again, found a way in solitary confinement to kill a few guards. He killed one guard with a broomstick. And I know what you're thinking. Broomstick.
Steak.
Stick. And so, really, really interesting story. And
Wasn't he also like transferred to a psychiatric facility in the end?
he may have been, but what is a psychiatric facility in the late 1800s?
Sure.
What is that like? You know, how did they even look at mental illness?
I think they called them asylums.
Asylums, yes. So it's really, really interesting. I think Doc Holliday was in an asylum, wasn't he? When he was...
I mean, you don't make history without doing some crazy stuff.
So this is just one of the tales of vampiric lore that exists within North America. This one's particularly fascinating. A lot of other channels have covered this story, and I really wish I could find more about it. I've read the actual newspaper stories on it from that time, and they're very similar. You can tell where the tale was tweaked by one editor or one writer, but that's news, you know. And the funniest thing about it is with news like that, or any kind of news, is something can happen right now on the other side of the planet, and by the time it made the news the next day or the following day, all the facts would be twisted, you know.
Yeah.
And not even talking about political bias or anything like that, but that's just the way the press works.
The phone game, yeah.
And so the thing about it is that how has this tale been twisted over the years? So I don't know. What do we think of James Brown?
Well.
Oh, I mean, I don't think that it's any kind of recent news, but I've read some of the stories about that, articles about that. I believe that most of it is probably true.
Okay.
I think that maybe the whole title of vampire, maybe that's more to kind of scare people and kind of be a little more dramatic, but I think most of it is true. I don't know.
Yeah, they say that perhaps
maybe he didn't suck the blood out. Maybe he killed him. Maybe it was, you know, made more extreme because he was a black man and there was racism.
And
who knows? We don't know.
Did Bram Stoker use some of this lore to fuel his writings? I don't know. What says you, Blake?
I don't know if it was that incident. I would say it might relate to more the older legends back in Western Europe where they talked about people being buried alive and then, you know, like pounding on their coffins.
Oh, yes.
That's where I think the vampire story originates.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows for sure? Maybe they're real. Maybe not.
Yes. No, we saw that movie Underworld. Remember? Underworld. Kate Beckinsale. And the antagonist is his name Martin Sheen? Martin Sheen? The lead?
I forget.
Or was he even the antagonist? I'm not positive. I remember I saw it years ago, and I actually kind of liked it. And, yeah. And I believe she was married to him in real life, the male vampire, the lead one.
Oh, okay, you're talking about the descendant of Corvinus. The gentleman who was both, I think it was Michael is what they called him, and he was both part vampire, part werewolf, turns into a hybrid sort of thing.
Okay.
They definitely went out with that one, but all the same, I mean, there were some big appearances in that movie for vampires. I mean, Kate Beckinsale, she killed it. Bill Nighy of British fame, he killed it. And it's not even the first vampire movie he did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he goes all over the place, that guy.
All right.
But we'll skip over that and you can look it up yourself.
Bill Nighy.
Bill Nighy.
Nighy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting.
All the same, I enjoyed Underworld. Maybe not the very last one, but most of them.
How many were there?
I believe there were like 4.
Oh, okay.
Including that prequel.
Interesting. No, I
Never seen them.
I saw the first one, and it was a long time ago. Not too long after it came out. And I remember I didn't want to see it because people were talking about it. They were raving about it.
Yeah.
But it was the kind of people like, this can't be any good. It actually turned out to be really, really good. I didn't find it to be as good as Dracula Untold. I thought that was really good. And they were supposed to do a sequel on that, which I thought would have been, like you said, Dracula
Retold. Like, I mean,
that would have been brilliant, I thought.
How would they have continued that, though? Like, what would they have even done?
Well, he met who was supposedly his wife, Vlad Tepes. In modern day, he's in London and he meets her. I think she's shopping for fruit or something. And he meets her. And then you had the main Charles Dance. Love Charles Dance. We love Charles Dance. Charles Dance, who was the older vampire that was released. And the last line of the movie is "Let the games begin," and he follows them two out. And it was open for a sequel, and they still might do one, hopefully. But it was brilliant movie, And I thought I would not like this, but I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, because it delves into the Ottoman scene and the whole bit. And I think Vlad had to surrender one of his sons to the Ottomans to fight for them. And if you were a young boy and that time you were going to fight for the Ottomans, the abuse that you would suffer would be unimaginable. Yeah. I'm sure you can imagine. You can imagine a lot of unimaginable things. Perhaps. So back to James Brown, the president's vampire. Let's ask ourselves, what do we think of this tale from what we've discussed? Tale or festering fable?
I'm going to go with festering fable just because they said presidential pardon, but then afterwards he was in prison again. That's not much of a pardon, I would say.
Well, no, he was just, he was pardoned from corporal punishment, the death penalty.
Oh.
Yeah, that was it. Sorry. Yeah. I didn't phrase that properly. Yeah.
I stick with it, festering fable.
Okay.
Just because, I don't know, I have a hard time believing outside of, Wesley Snipes. that there was such a prominent blood drinker back then.
All right.
It took time.
What says you?
Well, like I said before, I think it's mostly true.
Mostly true.
Mostly true.
Mostly true.
Mm-hmm.
I would lend myself to agree with you on this. I would say mostly true because even the stories that were written at that time about it didn't say that he was doing anything, especially paranormal,
Yeah,
fighting like a tiger with superhuman strength. We don't know. Was he 220 pounds, 250 pounds?
I mean, those guys had to justify getting beat by one guy.
Let's get a verdict on this. Do we believe vampires are real?
Okay.
you go first.
Very well. I want to, yes. Very much so. Imagine Natasha shows up, Aaliyah, on your front door. Why not?
Wait, didn't she die in a plane crash?
That's what they told you.
Yes.
Yeah. That's actually it's a good point.
That was a nasty thing that happened. That was like in 97 or something?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Unbelievable.
Sad.
Yes. What do you think? Are vampires real, Natasha?
Have you ever heard of adrenochrome?
From you?
Adrenochrome is a chemical compound that is produced from oxidized adrenaline, okay?
Okay.
Adrenochrome has been harvested from the blood of tortured and sacrificed innocents, only obtainable by the world's, mostly, only obtainable by the world's super rich and famous elites. And they use it as sort of a elixir of youth, perhaps even, a natural long life. So yes, in that sense, I do. I think vampires are real.
So you're saying, Natasha, they have like a Bathory complex.
I don't know what that means exactly.
Elizabeth Bathory, the blood countess herself.
It's funny that her name is Bathory.
Bloodbath.
Bloodbath, yes.
That might be where it came from for all we know.
But adrenochrome is real. But is it really discussed very often? How people use it?
Fair question.
People say it's conspiracy theories.
Well, no,
but I don't think so. I think it's true.
Okay. That's some sick shit.
Think about some of the celebrities that have just kind of randomly died or disappeared. Why do you think there's a lot of stories about like they're actually alive somewhere. You know, they just pretended to fake their death or whatever. You know, adrenochrome could be what they're using to preserve their life.
Is Robin Williams a vampire?
Unnatural long life. Elvis Presley. Michael Jackson.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Presley vampire.
Oh, and you know, you guys were talking about Underworld, Kate Beckinsale. She looks like she's still 20, right? Her.
She looks very, very young.
Probably her too.
You know,
Something's going on there.
The biggest problem with her is that she dates her son's friends.
I bet you
Yeah.
she drinks their blood too.
Which is the funniest thing.
I
that
get told that I look like her when I was younger.
Well, the funny thing is,
Not
it's
anymore.
funny how she maintains her youthful look, and for everyone has complained who's ever worked with her that she is a ravenous chain smoker. Yet she maintains her youth, and she's English on top of that.
Exactly.
So you know, and yeah, that would be an odd one there. It really would. Yeah. Interesting.
Could be.
Yes.
So yes, my answer is yes. I do believe there are modern vampires.
Yep.
And I believe there have been for a long time.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. The thing about Blake is that it's a well-known fact, and all of us have known you for years and years, that you are not just a fan of Halloween. You are a connoisseur of not only vampire movies but Halloween and when it comes to the occult sort of films, yeah. And you know all about all the foreign ones. There's an Iraqi one. There's a Swedish one. I've never seen any of them.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So, don't quote me. I believe it's Iranian. The girl walks alone. Oh, girl walks alone at night. You know, it's a story about a vampire that prowls on individuals when she pleases. Let the right one in. A younger girl who befriends a bullied boy in Sweden and, you know, saves him from bullies ultimately. Not too many spoilers there. I mean, there are others too. You know, there's I believe a German one about therapy for a vampire, you know. Literally, someone's trying to give a vampire therapy, and she's trying, you know, her husband or fiance, I forget, is trying to save her from him. But it goes, you know, against those older myths, you know, about a vampire having to count Count Dracula, the Count.
Oh.
I don't know if it's so much a title as to say, you know, they have to count things before they can pass them. You know, you throw a bunch of rocks in front of a vampire, he has to count them. Or a bunch of seeds, he has to count them. Little things, little almost OCD-like behaviors. Why do you think an immortal would have those behaviors?
You have those behaviors.
Where's your sketchbook?
Not today.
Not today.
Not feeling very creative.
I have a lot of aberrant behaviors, but I don't think that's one.
I'm just messing around.
I know you're just messing around. You're only funning.
Exactly.
Very, very interesting. So, this particular episode of the Erich Andreas Unexplained is brought to you by Chef Boyardee, beef ravioli, and pasta sauce.
Chef Boyardee ravioli, savory flavored beef on the inside and spicy seasoned tomato on the outside. Blake and Natasha, they love their flavored beef. Show 'em, Blake. Gross.
So, thank you so much for tuning in this latest episode of the Erich Andreas Unexplained. And as usual, please give us a like and a subscribe. We could really use it. It's a relatively new channel. And I'd like to thank once again Blake, Halloween expert, Natasha, Potence of Doom, So please join us, and this is an invitation to like and subscribe to a small channel, new channel. We could really use the support. Please follow us on Patreon if you so desire, and we would love to see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.
Mr. Andreas, you cut me off again, you opinion monkey ass. I'll come pay you a visit one evening.
You say terrible things every time.
I know. I guess you're right. I know that I say some pretty cantankerous things on occasion. But if I ask you to forgive me, do you think you forgive me?
Absolutely
Please
not.
forgive me.
I forgive you, Ray.
Sucker! Hey, Nadia, would you like to come over to my house and we can have a scotch and you can help me play with my pumpkin?
No,
You should go.
absolutely not. If you're so excited about it, why don't you go?
So Ray will eventually, I'm so sorry, eventually probably become a co-host, because even though he says the worst things imaginable, it's kind of funny.
It's him or me, bro.
I would pick you before I would pick Ray, or we would pick you. But anyway, so thank you so much again. Andre is out.